All right, so we'll start with this bottom tier of teams that I think are pretty good upset teams that all have some positives to do with the team. That'll start with Koi, who I thought competed against BBL, and they've competed with a few teams these past few weeks. Like Carmen Core was kind of close. Foot they had a close map against. So I am gonna put them in this tier with these other teams. I do think they are pretty clearly the worst team in EMEA, but I do think it is pretty close between them and the next team, which I have it is Giants. I did not change the thing, did I? For my power ranking. So there's gonna be a lot more like teams just grouped together, bigger groups of teams rather than just like I think it was like the max of like 4 that I used to do. So that should be very interesting. If you guys are enjoying this and you want to know maybe what I think more about specific players, you can go check out my Twitter where I do weekly player rankings um, for EMEA, Pacific, and Americas. My most recent one is EMEA. It might end up being Pacific by the time I post this, or Americas by the time I post this, whatever I watch first. But regardless, you can go check that out if you're interested. Also, leave a like, subscribe if you enjoy. Really helps me out. And yeah, let's get right into it. So we'll start with this bottom tier of teams that I think are teams that could get some upset wins, maybe a map win here or there, but overall just aren't very good overall. And that'll start with Koi, who have competed with a few teams like so far in stage 1 and have looked decent on a few maps. So I will give them a little bit of a boost mentally here. I do think like in terms of just in my head where they're at, I think they're maybe a little bit better than people are giving them credit for. They're still the worst team in the EMEA. I mean, they've lost what? Oh my god. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row if you include off-season events, which is insane. But and they've won 3 maps. To be fair, 2 of the games, the off-season games are BO1s, but they've won 3 maps going back to last year against Heretics where they lost. The last game that they won was week 3 against Navi last year. So not ideal there. I mean, they're just not good overall. I don't really have much else to say that I haven't said already with this team. Then I have Giants moving down 2 spots. I thought maybe against a worse team, they'll be able to compete individually and kind of play a lot better because their individuals aren't just getting completely diffed every single time. And that was just not the case. They were not good, just macro wise. They're not good on the rolls. I mean, Tomazi and Runner are coming out, I believe, for Giants. Let me pull up their VLR page real quick. Nope, that's Giants. I need Giant X. There we go. But yeah, it'll be Tomazi and Runner out. Purpo is going to go to full-time smokes. That's exactly who I would have moved on from to try out for, I believe, these last 2 weeks of EMEA. Yeah, so yeah, they'll have some kind of open tryouts here. Maybe get ready for stage 2 a little bit more. Kind of get prepared for next year as well. Hopefully win a game, maybe over Apex, get a couple chance points, maybe be able to make playoffs. But overall, they're not really in a good shape to do that. And they're just not good overall. Like I think they're going to need some real good pickups if they're going to do anything this year. Then after Giants, I do have Apex moving up 1 slot, kind of by default. I do think they did compete on Split. They looked a lot better on that map now that they're playing the Raze Yoru. I think they need to lean into that stuff a little bit more. On other maps, obviously not maps like Lotus where they got 13-5, but everybody gets destroyed by Fnatic on Lotus, so and they lost both pistols, so like you're never winning that map really. So I don't know. I don't really have much to say about Apex, honestly. Badu's looking better. Obviously playing the Yoru this week looked better on that role. I mean, I'm still a little bit lower on what Floor's been doing for this team. I know she's been farming like she's been clip farming, obviously, against Navi. She was owning. But the other games, like the Heretics game and the Fnatic game, I didn't think were very good from her. I thought she was amazing at kickoff. But overall, stage 1 has been a little bit disappointing to me with Floor. Still a very good player. Still, I think I have her seventh as my in my duelist ranking. So she's not bad by any means, but I don't. I think she's maybe a tad overrated as of right now. Then I have Navi as the last team in this tier. They did win 2 weeks in a row against Apex and Giants, but they were both relatively close games, I guess. Like, yeah, they lost Fracture. They need to stop playing that map. I don't know why they keep playing it. They lost it against Fnatic week one. They lost against Giants. I think they lost it a few times at kickoff as well. Oh no, they did beat Fnatic at kickoff on it. Okay, fair enough. But like, they keep picking this map every week, except when Apex banned it last week, and they just aren't winning on it, and their comp isn't good at all. Like they're playing Fade instead of Teo for whatever reason. Don't know why. Um, Giants just play a much better comp on that map, but they were able to win Pearl pretty handily. Almost choked it at the end, kinda, but were able to recover and win it. And then Split, they just win 13-0. Like, I mean, it's against Giants attack side on Split, so I don't know. I'm not gonna give them a ton of credit for that, even though they did play really well. And Hero had a great week. He went 22-2. I didn't even realize that was his KD in that game, or like his final KD. I knew he was farming, but like, holy fuck. But yeah, overall, just I don't know. I feel like a lot of teams in this tier just aren't gonna beat anybody above them, like almost ever. So I mean, like none of these teams have even like come close to beating a team above them. So do with that what you will. I don't really fully believe in any of the teams, and I don't think anyone else does either. Now we have a few teams here that I think are good but not great, and that'll start with Gentlemates. I mean, they just kind of got rolled by Karmine Core this week. Individually diffed, in my opinion, just overall, and just macro diffed. Like Sadak called a nice game against them. We'll talk about Karmine Core in a little bit, but also just I don't know. There was a lot of individual mishaps, people not winning duels, stuff like that. Just overall, not a great week from Gentlemates, and definitely not looking like they did kind of at the beginning of the year or at the beginning of the stage when they beat Liquid and had a close game against Foot. I think they might be starting to fall off a little bit here. Then I have BBL, kind of staying still, but in my mind they're going down, like in terms of where I rate them, because 13-6, 13-9 against Koi. I don't know. I swear I talked more about Koi playing against another team, but um, yeah, 13-6, 13-9, and they still are having the issues with the coordination and the individual decision making. It could all click at some point, and they could be really good, but for right now, they're just not. I mean, obviously, they're just going to beat the teams below them because they just have better firepower. But the teams above them, maybe they could catch a team or two off on a given day if they're not playing well individually. But overall, I just don't think they have the like coordination and everything like that to kind of beat the top teams when the top teams are playing well. Then Karmine Core, I have at number 6. Pretty good week for them. I mean, Sadat called a great game. I I honestly, like, before the game, I thought I was gonna hate their Haven comp. The more I watched it, the more I liked it. Now, obviously, it's still not a perfect comp. I would still prefer the ISO in this comp than the Phoenix. But the theory behind it still works, because a lot of what the attack side with this comp does is you're trying to farm the ISO orbs and use the Sova util to kind of set up or the Sova and the Yoru util to set up the ISO ults and maybe have the ISO vulnerable set up the Sova ult and stuff like that. That's kind of the one thing that you're missing with this comp. But I do think the Phoenix kind of helps with your retakes on and side XX overall. Kind of helps you hold on to Garage a little bit better on defense, and maybe lets you do a bit more aggressive set plays on the defensive side as well. So I see why they do it, and also the ult's cheaper and is still really good. So like, I kind of like this comp. It's like almost there in terms of liking it better than the ISO version, but if Aves is more comfortable on the Phoenix, then I would 100% be down to run this. There's a lot of teams doing way more troll versions of this comp. So I am I'm a very big fan of that. And then Pearl, they kind of just ran them over. Aves played really well in this game. I mean, all the individuals kind of hit. Still don't love the Harbor overall, but hopefully they'll start to weed it out a little bit more, or they'll just not play those maps in playoffs. I think those are their kind of 2 win conditions, but they are on top of their group right now in Group Omega. So I don't expect that to hold. They play the other 2 top teams, in my opinion, in Foot and Liquid, and they lost to BBL, who all of those teams are tied at 2-1. So I would imagine Karmine Corp don't hold on to this spot, but it's still really nice that they were able to get there. Now we have our last 5 teams that I think are true Masters contenders. I do think these other teams below them could potentially make it, but I would rate all of these teams above them to do that. And that'll start with Foot, who, I mean, I think a lot of people are going to be calling for a certain team here. I'm not quite as ready to just push them fully down. But Foot, this Liquid game was so bad. Not even because I think the individuals played particularly poorly from Foot. Now, they did. I think Zeus had by far his worst game in Tier 1. So far, the entry pathing that he had on Lotus was really bad. Obviously, Liquid had a good game plan for it, but he was just not playing against it very well. And I think some of the individual coordination of people like kind of trying to run into sites behind him wasn't very good either, which could have potentially led to that. And then, I mean, but the thing that I did want to really talk about was this team's comps. They're still playing this Chamber comp on Split. They're still playing this Jet comp on Lotus. Neither of them are very good at all. Like, I've talked about the Lotus comp a few times already. They need to change it now. They need to, like, if they want to just run this but with Yoru, that would be so much better, and I would genuinely like it. But Split, they're running this Chamber Raze Sky Viper Omen comp that they ran last year with CNED, which I assumed was because they didn't want to put CNED on Raze, and that the only other agent he would be able to play if he wasn't playing Duelist is Chamber. I don't get why they don't just play either Jet instead of the Chamber or put Zeus on the Raze. I guess now that I'm looking at this, this is a Rax can't play anything other than like, I mean, I guess you could play like a Breach Teo comp, and that would work. I think. No, Krax doesn't play. Does Krax not play any Breach? Huh, he doesn't. Yeah, okay, it's a Krax issue, not a CNET issue. I'm really just realizing this now. I didn't really think about how I wanted to talk about this, but yeah. I mean, Krax's flexibility is just not good, which I've talked about many, many times before, kind of limits this team's ceiling and stuff like that. So overall, I think this team is still good, but their comps are really, really going to be holding them back. Then I have Liquid moving up a spot. I mean, obviously, I just talked about all of Foot's comp issues, which did make this game easier for Liquid, but I think their game plan on Lotus was really, really good, as I said. And their split, they ended up playing really well as well. Serial looks a little bit better. Camo had one of his better games for Liquid. Nat's still playing well. Patatek and Kiko still playing decently well. Not amazing in this game, but still playing well. Actually, no, Kiko did play really well on Lotus. Never mind. Ignore that. But their comp on Lotus, I don't think is really good for the attack side, like, at all. But if this comp was specifically made to beat Foot, which I think it is, like, that would be my guess, this is an incredible comp. You let Foot pick Lotus, which they've liked picking for whatever reason, and then you pick defense and then just play double Sentinel and try to re-clear Rubble a lot. Like, they had such a great game plan. Liquid did. So props to them for that. They're starting to get back into that individual form as well, which is really nice. I don't know if they're confirmed for playoffs yet. I don't think any of the teams in Omega are, but still, very good job for Liquid there. Um, I don't really have much else to say, honestly, other than that they did well this week and are starting to kind of get back into that form. Then I have Vitality, who were the team that I was alluding to earlier. That team that people might want me to drop a lot more than this, but I had them as my number one team in the EMEA. I'm gonna drop them a few spots here, but not all the way. Just because, like, yeah, this week was bad from them. Don't get me wrong. For multiple reasons, which the second reason I'm not really going to get into, it was the safe clip, if you saw that. Um, that might actually have been the worst thing that happened to this team this week. But they just weren't able to get much done on Haven, honestly. Like, it felt like they kind of just ran out of gas at the end of that half, or on the end of their attack half, which was overall their better half. Like, they won pistol bonus, then won 2 more rounds, which Heretics was able to recover. Which actually we'll put up Heretics as my next team. We'll talk about them a little bit at the same time as well. But Heretics was able to run it back in that second half on attack a little bit more. Like they started down 0-4 or 5-1, whatever you want to say there, and ran it back and won 13-10. Thurka, for just to talk about Vitality, has not been as good these past few games. Kicks in this game specifically was really bad. I think that will get better. Because in the other games he has not been bad. He was really nice against Fnatic and he was incredible against Giants. So I would imagine he would get back into form. But Seavoff, not his best game. Les, I think, played well, and Safe individually played well, but I do still think the calling is limiting what this team can do. But on the side of Heretics for this game, Woot is fucking back. I thought he's been very disappointing so far. Like against Giants, even though he did top frag this series, and he top fragged that Haven map, really? It just did not feel like he played well. Split, same deal. And then Lotus, I thought the Teo's been good from him as well. But outside of the Teo, when he's been playing like the ISO and stuff, I haven't been super impressed with him. But now that, like, I mean, he's just hitting more shots pretty much. Like, he was just fucking farming in this game. As well as Miniboo, who has been amazing these past few games. He's kind of back in, I would say, almost kickoff last year form. It's like almost there. I don't think Rienz is playing quite as well as he had been, but he doesn't really need to do as much because of what the team in front of him is doing in terms of Miniboo and Woot. I think Benji's maybe not fully back, but definitely playing a lot better than he had been. Obviously, the stats didn't really represent that, but he did do some nice things, hit some nice shots in this game, so overall pretty good. And I do think Boo's calling has been a lot better these past 2 weeks. So Heretics isn't all the way back in my opinion, but they're getting there. Like maybe a few more weeks, Boo keeps improving his calling. Some of the other players pick up their individual form a little bit more in Rienz and Benji, and I really think this team could be a title contender at an international event. Then at number 1, I have Fnatic. It shouldn't really be a surprise here, but maybe it is for some people. Like, I don't think that they are a top 3 team in the world, maybe, right now, or anything like that, but they're almost there. They played really well this week. Lotus, I think they're the best Lotus team in the world right now, even better than G2, who I believe have not lost on that map all year. Fnatic are just demolishing every team on it. Just no chance against them. Also, Apex picked Lotus in this game. Don't know why, but Split was also close from Apex side. I think Fnatic did a little bit of trolling in this game in terms of just individual decision making. Boaster wasn't as dominant in this game in terms of just like his shooting and everything like that, but he still played better than he had been before that. And yeah, just overall a nice week for Fnatic. I think you get the win over the team that you're expected to beat. You're going to get another one this week against Giants in terms of a team that you're expected to beat. Then you'll have Heretics to fully prove that maybe you are one of those top 3 teams in the world. But with that, these are my power rankings, and now we will move on to what's it called? Predictions. Yes, that's what it's called. All right, so before we get into this week, we'll talk about last week a little bit. Definitely my worst week for any region in terms of Pickems. Only got the BBL over Koi and Fnatic over Apex games correct, which were the 2 gimmies. The other games, I think, were all kind of close to 50-50s. I think this one maybe a little less so. I thought this was a 60-40, but like, I mean, I also thought Giants were actually pretty heavily favored over Navi, but the rest of the games I think were pretty close, and I just kind of got them all wrong. Unfortunate, but definitely could have seen a few of these coming. So we'll try to predict a few more upsets this week because I've kind of gone chalk with a lot of my predictions this year. But we'll start with Vitality over Apex, pretty easy, and I'll take. Wait, no, that was not the easy one. The other easy one was Liquid over Koi. Ignore this pick for now. I'm gonna leave it on. We'll leave it on there. I don't know. But Gentlemates over BBL is what I'm gonna take. I think this is a bit of an upset, especially after how Mates played last week. But I think they'll kind of correct it a little bit, maybe be able to beat BBL because I do think their individuals are maybe close to the same level, but also they could play worse individually. But I think overall their team play and their calling, maybe not calling actually, there's their individual like what's it called? Coordination. That's the word I was using before. Is better than BBL, and I think they should be able to, or they could be able to take this game. But I do think this is like a 40% upset in this game. Then actually the other easy game was Fnatic over Giants. I don't know why I framed that as a potential upset game. And also Heretics over Navi. What the hell was I talking about? There's just two upset games here that I picked. And then I did pick Karmine Core over Foot. I think Karmine Core with Sadak, with Aang, should be able to abuse Foot's comps if they don't change them. If Foot does change their comps, then I would predict them in this game pretty easily. But I'm going to take Karmine Core and Gentlemates to get their upset win this week. I think everything else should be pretty simple. Maybe Navi decides to turn up against Team Heretics, but that would really be it. I don't really see anything else happening. Maybe Vitality completely crumbles against Apex, but I don't think any of that's very likely. So let me know what you guys think of the Pickems and the power rankings in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.